Welcome to the Weiler Brothers. I'm Travis Weiler, and this is Jeffrey Weiler, my brother. That's why we're called the Weiler Brothers. It's an
All
amazing
right.
idea we came up with for a name. And we're out here, living in the world. We decided to start, taking the conversations we were having and put them out here on the podcast world. And I hope everybody's having a great night. Watched the shit show of a debate last night. It was quite a something. It was really right out of the WWF in a lot of ways, but I think it had to go the way it did for Trump. I think that was his whole strategy to begin with.
I'm not sure, man. It was frustrating to watch.
It was very frustrating to watch. I'll give you that. I was just completely like. I think less of both candidates. Let's put it that way. I think less of both candidates. I heard Tim Pool say that earlier, and I was like, that's absolutely the truth. I really do. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm not going to, vote for Trump or whatever. I'm just saying I think less of both people. But it just is a microcosm what's going on in our entire society in a lot of ways too, man. It's like trying to and the things they were arguing about is just so annoying to me. Like they sit there and talk about like racism like it's some kind of huge deal in our country and all this kind of stuff. And like people aren't getting along with each other everywhere and all that kind of stuff. And like today, for instance, I had this lady come in and we started talking, and she is a nursing home. Um, she works at a nursing home, and we talked about how she said, that she was just blessed with a lot of good things in her life. She had met so many old people and heard so many great stories, and we talked back and forth about that. And she happened to be black, and we had a great moment to the point where even in this COVID age, it's like, I got to give you a hug. I'm sorry. I think you're awesome. I think you're a wonderful person. And I gave her a big hug because her character was glowing out of her. She was just a wonderful person. And it's
I
a
think
beautiful thing to see. That's one of the greatest things I love about what I do is being able to be in the population and be able to actually have a conversation with so many different people of so many different walks of life. And I think it gives me an advantage in a lot of ways over some people that are really closed-minded. You can't be married to any ideas. You got to kind of learn as you go here,
Well, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, when you got to take into account that, there's a large portion of the country who they don't get to interact with other races of people as much necessarily.
Absolutely not.
Especially like I live in Beaumont, you live in Austin. These are real, mixing, pots of culture more so than.
So I think Beaumont more so than Austin in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I mean, I was so happy to see. I walked up to the convenience. Well, didn't walk to the convenience store, but I drove up to the convenience store yesterday. I don't want to walk.
It's a little rough.
But I got in the car and I heard like it was like, there he is. I was like, who the heck is it? I saw this guy with a mask on. I was like, he had a big old beard coming out. I was like, no, that's Mr. White, man. Mr. White, what's up, dude? I had seen him and like he had got the COVID, so I hadn't seen him.
Oh shit.
Mr. White, so I was like, take that damn mask off, man, and give me a hug. So, I was so happy to see him, Mr. White.
Mr. White just happens to be black.
He's a black guy.
What an irony in the world.
Yeah. One of his buddies is Mr. Brown, which he's a black guy too. I'll go over there and hang out with him too, just hey, good dude. It's brother.
I'm just hanging out with Mr. White, Mr. Brown.
He's a old jazz musician,
Awesome, man. I bet he's a cool guy.
He's a fun dude to be around. He's an old rancher and jazz musician, and
that's great.
His son is a jazz musician, and his daughter is a classical musician, and they don't get along at all. That's what he was telling me. I was like, why they don't get along? He's like, because jazz and classical musicians, they don't get along together.
I didn't know. Beethoven don't like jazz, I guess.
Yeah, I was like, why don't you have the White Family Band? And it's like, I just can't get them to get along.
Dang. Well,
Can't get them to get along. Oh well.
But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think if you looked at it all in all from an overall standpoint, it was a pretty good debate, I guess. but
It was very entertaining.
it was. I mean, I just can't understand how anybody got any kind of goodness out of that, though. You know what I mean? I mean, it didn't change any minds. It didn't get people that were like, okay, I'm undecided on what I'm gonna do, and then that happens. I mean, that's not doing anything but lowering the playing field. It just makes me sad that these are the candidates we have to deal with. To be quite honest with you, that was the thought that I had right after. That was my first thought. I was like, this is sad. It really is. This is really sad that these are this is what I got.
This is what we got. It's a
And don't get me wrong, I like a lot of the characteristics of Donald Trump, but I wish somebody that had a little bit more of a charismatic type feel, a little bit of freaking couth would be the spear point of what everybody that I agree with is trying to do, which is bring forth individual freedom and sovereignty and a nationalism type situation instead of a globalism. I'm against globalism. And I love the fact that he got us out of this TPP and the Paris Climate Accord and all these things that were about to destroy this nation. It was about to put this nation into the drain. And it's going to be a fight. The debates were insane, and everybody is stupider for watching them. That's what we need to just basically say out of that. And like I said, it just kind of made me sad in a lot of ways. But I think that the strategy that Trump had was probably what he had to do, because it looked like he was debating two people for a while there. The guy would ask him follow-up questions where he wouldn't do that to Joe Biden. And and Joe Biden interrupted Trump a lot too, and Trump is just more bombastic and he comes across louder. But yeah, Joe Biden was doing a lot of stuff. And then he would say stuff like, they would go through a whole big thing of a litany of things where it's like, your son took all this money from freaking Russia and all this. And he'd go, that's been proven to be untrue. It's like,
it's the same deal when
Biden did.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son would not do that.
Oh, someone do that.
Proven to be untrue.
He wasn't aware of it.
And he has no fact. He can't say, no, that didn't happen. This didn't happen. There was a guy that did something in the FBI or something like that. Who? I'd like to know his name. And they're like, yeah. It was a bunch of garbage.
It was a bunch of garbage because they've got it on video. He's sitting there bragging about the Burisma, especially. That's terrible. He denied that, Hunter Biden was over there taking all this money. And so he denied that Hunter Biden was taking money from Burisma. But then, there's no criminality. But then you have Biden on video saying, yeah, I called up the premier of and told him, hey, if you don't fire that lawyer, then we're going to deny you billions of dollars.
But then it's just like, that's not quid pro quo.
That's not quid pro quo.
They start all that stuff.
I think it's an issue where these people, of course they're outliers, but they live in this bubble so that whenever they're doing something evil and something wrong, they feel like they're doing good. They've programmed themselves so strongly that they can literally just lie with a straight face. It's like Comey today, watching him, them grill Comey about his there. Okay. But it's like watching Comey when they were grilling him about all the Russian hoax scandal, and he just sits there. No, I don't believe we did anything wrong. They're so trained professional liars that they can just straight face, I don't believe we did anything wrong here. I don't remember. And then whenever they're asked about certain things that fit what they
did a pretty good job of that yourself.
I've been practicing. But it was funny. What I laughed about it, I was watching old Comey earlier today with the when they were grilling him about the Russian hoax. He's like, well, I just don't recall, or I don't remember that, or I don't quite understand what you're saying. But then then one of his buddies gets on there. Is like, it was on the 24th of May at 12 o'clock, and I was sitting there eating a sconce, and all the details he could fire out whenever they asked him a question about something that he wanted to get across. And it's just, that's the same thing with Biden when these debates. He's a swamp monster that helped dig the swamp.
Yeah.
I think
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. Here's the deal.
here's the deal.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. I'm the guy that did this. Here's the deal. I'm the guy.
Mhm.
That's all he does. That's
Well,
it.
Trump,
You're the guy that does this. I'm the guy that does this. Here's the deal. I mean, I can sit there and have a whole conversation without saying a damn word.
That's one of the things that they tried to portray, Biden as the victim, and he spouted off all these long diatribes of talking points that really had no substance.
Not at all.
Say anything of substance, and then we said the Green New Deal, that's the what it's gonna pay for itself. But
Totally Freudian slip, but I'm against the Green New Deal. And he's like, no, what do you mean? So he's basically incrementally bringing in the Green New Deal. It's the same thing that they did in Texas when I was fighting to have these toll roads coming through Texas. I was one of those people that was trying to stop Corridor 69 from coming through. They wanted to make a toll road from Canada to Mexico, and I was against that because they were using a private Spanish company to do the work, and it was all kinds of crazy crap that was going on. I'm not even going to get into that I just didn't like about it. It was just this part of this North American free trade agreement crap that I was just against. I was against it. And so anyway, long story short, it's the same thing they're doing. They're basically have incrementally brought in those toll roads through Texas now, and they're incrementally doing it all the way across the United States because people were fighting about it. And they're like, no, you're not going to make this giant infinite road. And they're like, okay, well, we're not going to do that. Now they're just like, well, we'll pass a toll road here to make the traffic faster. And we pass another toll. And then next thing you know, you already have that same transit line that you were trying to accomplish.
Most people don't realize that Trans-Texas corridor, that Spanish company, they would have owned a strip of the United States.
Yeah, it's no big deal, though. China owns half the United States right now. What are you talking about? A lot of foreign investors own.
They do. That's what people don't get. They don't own, They don't understand. They own parts of our country now.
Absolutely. We're a capitalist country. You can own parts of this country. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with it to an extent if you have a monopoly like what China's doing, where they're strategically we're in like a war, literally we're at war with, where they're pushing propaganda on us. They're pushing, they're buying up land. They're starting all this crazy stuff with the COVID. Or at least if you believe the doctor that was at the Wuhan lab that's coming out saying that on Tucker Carlson, the most censored doctor in America. I mean, I guess, that don't mean anything anymore.
Well,
but,
they released it on purpose.
All in all, out of that whole debate, I thought Trump actually probably fared way better than Biden. He just looked like the stronger candidate. If you wanted this, think about, Biden with Putin.
Yeah.
Something like that. That would be Putin would railroad that guy.
Well, they have already.
The other thing that I thought that he did really good with was when he was talking about the COVID thing, and he said basically like, you would have never done the same thing I would have done because you couldn't have got the things done that I got done. I know what my team did, and you can ask Democratic governors or Republican governors or anybody, and they will laud the work that we did and things like that. And and his answer to climate change, I liked what he said there about the clean air. Also with the insurance, I think he said the right thing. He said basically what you're getting there is you're getting insurance. Who cares not insurance. See, I did the same thing. Healthcare, the thing with healthcare and insurance are two separate things. And he basically defined that. He said, look, I'm lowering prices on prescription drugs. Insulin was like $200 or $300 under Obamacare. It's like nothing now. It's cheap. I can get insulin cheap. Yeah, and that is the things that he can do for the country. He can broker deals with these pharmaceutical companies, and he knows what a good deal and a bad deal is. Where that 47-year politician that hasn't brokered anything other than making his son rich and sold out half the shit and bad deals to China was part of the administration that made one of the worst deals in history with Iran. Back in Iran, where they literally shipped billions of dollars in cash to them. What the crap are we doing?
Well,
Since when do we send money to another country? That's insane. That's paying tribute to another country. That doesn't happen. That's something that the Romans did. We don't pay other countries money. We shouldn't. I'm sure we do it a bunch, but we shouldn't.
That's where the Romans got. That's where the Romans got their asses kicked by the Huns. The Huns made them pay tribute after tribute after tribute, and you don't kowtow to these people. You don't bow down to the Antifas. You don't bow down to any of these people. And that
now that they exist, the Antifa doesn't exist. It's just an idea.
Exist, you know,
it's just an idea.
Well, you know, Biden, he also sat there and straight-faced lied to everybody. And he said, well, you know, the insurance companies would just love that. Whenever the insurance companies are the ones who wrote Obamacare, everybody knows that. Absolutely. They're the ones who wrote it, and it was for their profit. It's unaffordable.
They definitely were going to lose money in the deal.
Big time. We're the only people who like Obamacare are people who are disabled and people who don't know what they're talking about. People who are bedridden, people who have disabilities.
And I think that if you allowed, there's a lot of problems with that. We didn't have these problems in the past because of one thing. It's called 501c3. Private charities have been stranglehold. They have the federal government now has a stranglehold on all these private charities through the 501c3 thing, and they're not allowed to give money specifically to these different causes and things like that. They've got all kinds of different loopholes they have to jump through. Whereas before, when and don't get me wrong, there's advantages and disadvantages of having private nonprofit organizations regulated, because there was definitely some freaking problems with it on the other end too. But it's caused an issue where there's not as much charity for people that need it, is my point. The other problem is you could definitely make a healthcare system that helped the poor and people like that, in the handicapped and things like that, that was much more realistic than what we're talking about, where you had a mandatory. Dude, if that's one of the biggest reasons why I'll never vote Democrat again, is if they start doing a mandatory insurance, mandatorily paying to a corporation. Basically, we're beholden to an insurance company where we're forced to pay a tribute every freaking month to an insurance company, whether we want to or not.
Well, you can't get around it in Texas.
That is absolutely ridiculous to me.
You can't get around it in Texas. You have to have car insurance no matter what.
Well, I'm against that too, but there's a thick argument both directions for that, and I can understand it, but
it's hard to wrap your brain.
I mean, my one thing I will say about it is I would be for that every insurance policy had uninsured motorist attached to it. And that would eliminate the reason why you would have to have insurance on your car. But uninsured motorists would go up astronomically. I mean, I've had this conversation at length with different people. Well, so there's a lot of reasons for that, though.
Well, remove a big part of it is you have executives who get paid huge amounts of money, and you have all these employees and all this stuff. Just automate it. Make it digital. Wouldn't that fix it?
What do you mean?
Wouldn't that help reduce
the
price? Well, if you have massive amounts of employees, people on the ground floor running around all over the country, you're having to pay for their wages, they
don't pay for anybody's wages that are on the ground floor running around selling insurance. I can tell you that. All those people work for themselves, and they're 1099 employees for the most part. Mm-hmm. And they might pay for supplies and things like that, but those people actually provide a service, man. And I'm sorry, I just see it too much. There's sure some things can be automated, especially auto insurance. Auto insurance is more or less automated anyway. You can go to Geico right now, but they're not lowering their prices. They've got a huge network, a lot of sausage going all over the place there, and they're not getting rid of that. They're not getting rid of that, buddy. They're gonna keep playing hide the sausage until the day they die.
Yeah, they will. I got you.
I mean, you can't peel back these layers like what they're trying to do. And I mean, in some ways, that's why you hear people say, burn it all down. There's there's a valid point there, to be quite frank with you. There's a lot of things that are really messed up about this freaking country, especially on the monetary side. I just don't understand why they're starting with black businesses and not starting with the banks, not starting with the Federal Reserve, not starting with places that that are actually the reason why we're all in, we have a poverty line in this country at all. Because, when there wasn't, where we're at now, like for instance, Tulsa, Oklahoma, everybody knows the story about the Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was a big time where black people had started their own economy and everything was booming and was actually better than the white economy. And the white supremacists of the times did burn it down. That is a true story of racism that happened in our country. It was an outrage. It was outrage. That's right. They bombed
bombs on the place.
That's right.
So
it was an outrageous situation. Damn it, I can't remember.
They flew planes over it and dropped bombs on top of Tulsa.
My point is they had a free market system that was working properly, and there was no poverty problems in any of these situations. What we have now is a bunch of regulations in this welfare state that is sucking the life out of the free market system. And if we had a free market system that functioned properly, there's no way in the world that people would not be in a better position than they are now, because it would just be that much better. We've got to deregulate the power of the dollar. Get rid of a lot of these ridiculous drug laws that we have in this country. We need to get, which once again, these are things that I think almost everybody aligns on, whether you're a Black Lives Matter or whether you're a Proud Boy or whatever the hell that is, or whatever you're doing,
that's a big thing that Trump missed out on these debates, is that he did put it in the hands of Biden. That's saying, okay, you passed the crime bill in 1994, but what he didn't do his homework on is in 1986, Biden also co-authored another piece of legislation that upped the no-knock raids.
Oh, really?
No-knock raids. I researched it. I did some homework on this. Biden co-authored another crime bill in 1986 that clamped down on all the drug laws and helped to build the private prison industry.
What's really interesting about all that, now that you just said it, is something just kind of clicked in my head. All those drug laws that during the 1980s were put into place because of the Bloods and Crips and everything, all the gangs that were fighting. And who was supplying those gangs with drugs, Jeffrey?
George Bush Sr.
Yeah. And the CIA.
And the CIA. Because he was the head of the CIA at the time.
In 86. Yeah, that's right. He was.
Yeah. He was a vice president and he was the head of the CIA.
So then you have these laws that seems like they wanted to put these laws into place, maybe to cause division now. I mean, I'm not saying that it goes back that far, but I guess I am, because I really do think that
long-term plan.
I do believe that there's these think tanks that come up with these ideas.
Mm-hmm. They knew very well. I mean, just like Nixon, he did studies back in '73 they put a bunch of monkeys in a lab and they tried to find data that that marijuana caused cancer, but they found out that it actually
got rid of cancer.
It reduced tumor sizes in lung cancer, and he said, bury those studies. We don't want anybody knowing about that. Yeah. And that they knew the war on drugs was it's just nothing but
it was another way to make money, man.
Yeah.
It was a way to make money to supply their dirty wars around the world.
Yes.
It was, I think System of the Down wrote a song about it.
Yep. Military complex bullshit. That's all there is to it, So, I think that, Trump did miss out on those points, some of those points.
Yeah.
Where, you can see the video of Joe Biden on the floor of Congress, and he's just real passionate about saying all kinds of ugly stuff about black people. He doesn't want his kids going to a racial jungle. He doesn't want, he wants to pass all these laws, these stricter and stricter laws, the militarization of the police. He sat there and said, well,
that happened under his watch when he was a vice president.
He authored all those bills.
More countries than Trump ever did. I mean, that's what, I was a big anti-war person. That's why I voted for Barack Obama the first time. I'm huge. I've always been anti-war. I fought against George Bush Sr. and Jr. because I was against the Iraq War, the original Iraq War, Desert Storm, as well as the freaking, the Gulf. Which one was the first one?
Desert Storm.
No, that was the second one. wasn't it? Gulf.
No.
There was another. Anyway,
Gulf
the
War.
both.
Bush 1 and Bush 2.
Yeah, Bush 1 and Bush 2 war.
Yeah.
And
Of course.
I was against them both, and I was very much against war. And then you know, you had then you had Obama come over there, and he's sitting there talking anti-war. He's talking about eliminating the lobbyists, taking care of America first, doing all these kind of things to bring America back. And I'm like, yeah, dude, this is the guy that I want. This is the guy that we need here. This guy's great. He's anti-war. He doesn't want to, and he created more war everywhere, all the time. He took Libya and turned them into a freaking slave den.
It's
Where
horrible.
people are right now are being auctioned off into slavery. Where's BLM for those freaking?
Yeah, where's
slaves?
BLM for the black
Where's
slave?
BLM for the slaves of Libya? Please, BLM, go over there to Libya and protest.
All the millions of people that died because of that
Yes.
crap.
Yes, because of your great and wonderful leader Obama, who probably trained you in his America First brown shirt bullshit when you were a kid.
Even Syria. I mean, think about Syria.
Syria is a terrible situation.
So the company is a company called Genie. They want to go over there and start a pipeline going through Syria.
That's been going on for decades.
So the Rothschilds own this company called Genie. They
Okay.
send over Kerry, and they send over what's the other songbird? What's his name?
I thought it was McCain.
McCain. Yeah, McCain. They send over McCain and Kerry and all those guys to go and negotiate with Al Qaeda. And
Yeah.
then when the press gets out that, oh crap, Obama is using Al Qaeda as a proxy soldiers,
Everybody figured that out.
they figured it out. They showed where Obama flew Al Qaeda soldiers in our helicopters
Yeah.
over to Libya and then pushed them back.
There
up
were
into
signs that people were holding up in Libya after the Libya takeover that was supposedly grassroots, which it wasn't. That
Color Revolution.
that had signs that said, Syria, you're next in Arabic. I remember them well.
Yes,
You know?
that's right.
And they went, those people that took out Libya went straight over there to Syria and started raising hell over there. Assad isn't the greatest man in the world, but he had a pretty good thing going on there where people could be Christian, people could be Muslim, people could be anything and everything they wanted to. Women were going to school. You know, I mean, they were fairly moving in a solid direction as far as a Muslim country is concerned. One of the top progressive Muslim countries that you could have. And yeah, there is a couple. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
For peace. I mean, so at any point, what point did Obama sit these people together and say, let's have some peace agreements?
He drew a red line in Libya.
He
Don't cross the red
He
line.
didn't. He didn't put down peace agreements because when Libya when Muammar Gaddafi caught the French infiltrating his government, trying to take over, he killed those bastards. And then all of a sudden here comes
Humanitarian crisis is the way they worded it.
yeah.
That we had
So
to
he
go in
told-
there and shit bomb those people back to the Stone Age.
He told OPEC that he wouldn't take the petrodollar for his oil anymore, and he would only take gold bullion.
That's right.
And that's when they came in. And
And he was going to use gold to finance this big giant aquifer that he was going to be making that was going to bring
finished-
fresh water to the rest of northern Africa.
he completed
that-
it.
Yeah,
It was a 30-year project.
he had it was beautiful.
Muammar
Changed
Gaddafi,
the landscape of Africa forever.
yeah, it was the jewel of Africa. You know,
Would have been
Muammar
wonderful.
Gaddafi would give a married couple
Yeah, I've heard all this.
$10,000 for having a child.
Yep,
He paid for your college.
yep.
He do all that stuff. Everything that the Democrats preach
Yeah.
about,
He
Gaddafi was
actually had
doing.
a socialist system that was a very giving and actually worked. And it wasn't
I don't know everything
socialist.
about the guy,
They
but
just gave bonuses out to people.
Yeah.
It's not even so much a socialist as it was, hey, the country's doing good. Here's your bonus.
because the
You know?
people owned the oil over there.
That's right.
It wasn't owned by OPEC. The people
Nope.
owned
The people of Libya own that oil. And he
Yeah.
gave them a dividend on it.
it.
And he also used those dividends to put people in good social programs, which were actually based on the performance of the country and
It's
not
just so
based
rude.
on some kind of nonsense that these people are spouting out now. I mean, I am not completely against good social programs if everybody agrees on them, first off. and two, if they're actually benefiting the people that they're made for, instead of not hiding the sausage somewhere and some politicians making all the damn money off.
Crony capitalism.
Crony capitalism. Great word.
Revolving door capitalism. So,
And I heard a guy on the socialist side say that's just a extension of what finally happens with end stage capitalism. And I'm like, shut the fuck up.
I mean, it would be better to
Shut
call
up.
it
That's
Rockefeller.
not true. That's what
capitalism.
happens when socialism infects capitalism, and you have a bunch of people that are not willing or able to support themselves under a meritocracy anymore. That's what happens when you don't have people that are willing or able to support themselves in a meritocracy. You're going to have a large welfare system, and you're going to have socialism because people are going to want that. They don't want to work. And that's the problem we truly have in this country at this point, is that when it all goes down, when it all boils down, is there's a lot of people that don't feel like they should have to do anything and they should get everything.
Well, that's part of what they call the Clower and Piven strategy that Obama studied under at Columbia University.
Frank Marshall taught him a lot about that too. Good old Frankie.
Yes, it's a strategy to implement socialism, aka Marxism, in America. So
David, what's his name? Ayers.
David Ayers. Saul Alinsky.
All those guys.
And what they do is they overwhelm the economy with so much welfare, so many people on welfare, it cripples the economy. So it's just like another Hegelian dialectic maneuver where you create a crisis and then you replace that crisis with your already pre-designated
solution.
result.
They do it constantly. We talk about it all the time. I mean, that's exactly what the intelligence communities of the world do constantly. They're constantly doing things like that. I mean, there's always a problem, reaction, solution. Anything that you see on the press, everybody should listen to this. Anything you see on the press is preordained to be on the press because there is a certain reaction they want out of you where they can provide you with a solution. Every single piece of information that you see on the mainstream media is designed specifically for that. And
everything.
Dispute me. Show me evidence that it's not, because that's what I see.
It is. It
is. Everything is about an agenda, and this is why we're doing this. So this will happen, and then we can say this is the best answer for what's happening. This crisis that we are completely inventing, whether it be climate change or racism or, I don't know, chicken fighting, whatever it is.
Whatever agenda they come up with. All these news stations all of them, they are these bait and switch groups. People don't really take into account that there's only 6 companies that own the media.
That one guy did was so great because it had all those different things that were like, this is going to be a disaster for our democracy. Our democracy.
Yeah,
everyone freaking talking heads were saying the exact same words. It's ridiculous.
Yes, just like I saw a video here recently where it showed that from state to state, they said, just to report it in, 33 new cases of COVID. 33 new cases of COVID for each different state. So how is it that all across the country that every single news station was reporting 33 new cases exactly in every single state? That just brings...
It's ridiculous.
It makes me worry about it.
Fear mongering, man. I hadn't seen that, but that sounds interesting. It doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't. But when I saw that, I was like, man, that just brings me more towards the side of saying, oh, is this just all so staged out that the people are so stupid that is it?
And not even that people are stupid. There's some very smart people that are living in this almost denial stage in their life where they know it's bullshit deep down in their heart. They know it's bullshit, but they're playing the part. They're LARPing. They're playing through. They're living in this denial world, the Stockholm syndrome, whatever you want to call it, where they're just, we got to do this. We got to mask up the kids and we got to send them off to school. And nobody is fucking saying anything about it. And don't get me wrong, I'm a victim of this myself. It's just frustrating as hell.
Well, it's like this this quote from Aldous Huxley that I've got pulled up here, and it pretty much it says, this is during his Berkeley interview, and he's talking, I think it was
I can't remember the host or who it was, but he's basically saying the experienced hypnotist will tell one that the number of people, the percentage of people that can be hypnotized with the utmost facility, just like that, is about 20%. That about a corresponding number of the other end of the scale are very, very difficult or almost impossible to hypnotize. And that in between there lies a large mass of people who can with more or less difficulty be hypnotized, that they can be gradually, if you work hard enough at it, be got into a hypnotic state. So in essence, there's 20% of the population who are helpless to hypnotic and hypnotic suggestion.
That's crazy, isn't it?
There's
and it's the bell curve. There's 20% on either side, and there's like what is that?
60% in the middle.
60% in the middle somewhere.
Yes, that can be.
I think I'm on the far right end. I think if you're a Cajun, you're pretty much on the far right end.
Yeah, I think we're not. I can't say I'm 100% hypnotized.
No. I know you know what I mean. I think it's not even so much as about being 100% Cajun, but I'm talking about being raised that way, to be raised to be cynical. And to know that people, be
skeptical about it, and I think statements like that, period, if if a person reads that, it can snap you out of that and say, hold on, this kind of helps me to question everything that I've got going on with myself.
Well, that's the other thing is a lot of people aren't honest with themselves. People aren't honest with themselves. It was hard for me to come to some of the conclusions that I came to. It really is. It's like, when I came to the conclusion about 9/11, that was a hard thing for me to go, yeah, dude, there's something fishy going on here. I remember it. It was like, I've got to believe this because I've got to believe the evidence that's in front of me, not what they're telling me. And it's hard to go against the grain. It's hard to say, no, man, that's not right. This is right. When everybody else is doing it, everybody else is pushing it this way. And they're saying, this is the right way. This is the right way. But it's the wrong way. That's one of the hardest things to do, to stand up and to a mass. Yeah. I mean, it is. It's hard for anybody.
I've sat in the room.
I salute anybody. When you watch it on TV, that's why it makes the little YouTube clips is when this lady's in a restaurant. She's like, I ain't putting my hand up. That's the one that makes the news is because it's so rare. Most people are going to be like, yeah, sure, Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to give a crap, even though they don't believe it, because they're bullied into it. And once again, we go back to the bullying thing. Where people are just passive aggressive now. People are, oh yeah, I don't want to cause any trouble. Well, it's time we freaking cause trouble, y'all. I mean, it is. It's time people stood up for what they believe in. You have every right to believe what you believe in, just as much as they do. And you can say what's on your damn mind. That's what makes America great.
Yeah, say what you gotta say.
Say it.
But at least listen to what the other person has.
Oh, absolutely. You should do that too.
That's one of the hard parts for a lot of the that's one of the things about the debate that was so tough is that, I think the way that Dinesh D'Souza put it is the reason that it went down the way it went down is, other than, old debates where you have these two guys who are just, I'm a prim and proper guy, is because there's such a divide between the groups. It's such a rift between the ideologies of the one guy here. He wants this and he wants that. In the past, they were real close together because, okay, you want a little bit of a different twist, but we're almost the same thing. Now it's so, there's certain things, there is a light, but on most standpoints, they're like this, was that cultural Marxism, what is a critical theory?
Yeah. Neither one of those guys knew what the hell critical theory. Nobody on that stage knew what that critical race theory is.
That's where Trump he screwed up. He totally messed up. One of the biggest and best points he could have made. He should have said it right away. He should have said, "Look, to understand cultural Marxism, everybody look this up. It was created by Marxists who were exiled from Germany."
Critical race theory was created by Marxists.
Yeah, critical race theory created by Marxists, and they knew that it would take years and years and years to infiltrate.
It's an ideology, it's a religion. And he's right there. It's almost like the same thing with the Antifa thing. They can be amorphous because they can say, we're not an organization, we're a ideology. There's no such thing as Antifa.
Yeah.
But there is, because they have signs and they have Brown Creek Antifa chapter number 62.
Yes.
And they all get together and hide in their little mask and play the masquerade.
They're
Same
all
thing with those
organized.
Proud Boy guys, though. They've taken that way too far, too.
Oh,
It's gotten
you
silly.
know,
It's like rhinos and psychos and rhinos all over again.
well, you know, he dropped the ball on that one too, because he should have sat there and said straight out, Joe Biden, the reason you won't say bad things about Antifa is because you're bailing those people out.
Yeah, he should have brought that up. You're absolutely
You're
right.
bailing them out. We have the money. We have the money trail.
While Kamala
Money
Harris has
trail,
bailed them out of jail, says to keep fighting, and
Keep
things
fighting.
like that. Keep the
His vice
divisiveness up. He did not hit on those hard points. Of the left are the ones that are being divisive here, not the right. And he didn't know enough about critical race theory to defend his position on it. And I wish he would have done a little more of his homework on that.
Yes.
And he could have just been like, and there was another part where he was like, he didn't want to just come straight out and condone, to say he was against white supremacy. I don't know why he didn't do that.
I think
like,
that
well, you need to do this. If he'd have just said, yes, I'm completely against white supremacy. Joe, are you against Antifa?
he said, well, he said sure, or something like that. He didn't say I condemn them straight out of his mouth. He should have said that.
Yep.
You know, he did drop the ball on that, of course. And
Maybe he feels like he's got to get the white supremacy vote or something. I don't know why he did that.
I think it's
But
such
I don't think he needs
ludicrous
that.
question. I think it threw him off. It's because he was like,
But it was,
how
yeah.
dare they ask that such
No, but it was also a kind of a tricky question. I forgot to mention this. Tim Pool's podcast brought this up earlier today, and I thought it was a good point. There was a guy on there that said, yeah, but you got to remember how, Wallace asked the question. He said, how do you feel about these white supremacist and militia groups? And he said it just like that.
Oh,
and so he tied the militia groups in with the white supremacists. And so you're right. That question, the way it was worded, did give him a pause. And that is what he said. And I was like, oh yeah. And see, even I didn't catch that. But that guy did. And I was like, yep, that's exactly what was going on there.
It threw him off.
He didn't want to say, but what he should have said is, yeah, I am against white supremacy. Militia groups stand by, don't cause any problems, but stand by kind of thing. And as far as like he tried to say, and as far as Joe Biden over there, what about Antifa? Are you going to tell them to stand by? Something like that would have been like,
Chris Wallace should have asked Joe Biden, why is it that Think Blue is bailing out the rioters? Why?
They won't call them rioters on national TV.
Why?
It's so fake. It's so because it's run by the damn Chinese, Jeffrey. You know why?
I know.
Why? Everything is, even if that freaking Fox commentator can't get around his freaking Chinese overlords when it all comes down to it.
No,
because he's a globalist. That Wallace guy's always been a little worm. He was a worm on freaking whatever. Was he on NBC forever? He was on one of those stations forever. Then he switched over to Fox like some kind of infiltrating. I don't like that guy. I never liked that guy. You can tell he's a little wormy. He's no good. Put Joe Rogan out there. Hell, put me and Jeffrey up there. We'll freaking moderate this debate.
I think you should put Jordan Peterson up there. That would be great.
Dude, let's put Jordan Peterson up there moderating this debate.
Jordan Peterson moderating the debate.
Mind blown. That would be so awesome.
And he would sit there and ask real questions about what is deep down, who are you and what are you really about?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be this politically sauced up questions about this. It'll be about their psyche. It'll be like, what is going on in your head? Who are you and what are you really about? And he wouldn't accept these dodging answers.
No, they couldn't. Neither one of them would agree to Jordan Peterson. But I wish that old Joe Biden would go on Joe Rogan's podcast, but he won't do it.
I really would.
3 hours of Joe Biden and Trump talking, it would be insane. Especially with Joe Rogan going, no, you're not going to do that. No, tell me what you're thinking. No. He'd bust their balls.
He would.
There would be he would corner every single one of them.
Mm-hmm. Put some real people asking questions instead of these.
Yeah, why do we need some kind of freaking moderator? Why don't we get some questions from the goddamn crowd? Why don't we get some questions? Because I promise you this, in 1786 when they had a debate, I don't think it was like that. Maybe they had a little bit of a parliamentary type situation going on, and hopefully it wasn't as fucking chaotic as that was. That was a shit show. Once again, I'll say it again. It was horrible to watch. It was like watching a WWF match, and it was terrible. It was sad.
Well, you know, if a debate with somebody like Andrew Jackson or somebody was probably pretty rowdy. You know, some skull spitting, and they had guns on their hip.
I'm
and
sure there was some other debates back in the day that were absolutely insane, but there was still some parliamentary procedure going on here. You have to have some kind of structure, or you're just gonna be talking over each other, is what we saw last night.
Yeah. Which
And
was very
Wallace was all like, "Okay, we're gonna go into free talk."
Maybe they should have had an earpiece for Trump too, so that he could pick the phone. Hey, calm down for a little
Calm down,
bit.
Trump.
Just
Maybe
chill
at
out.
least an electric shock collar on him where they could mash the
So
button.
I was thinking that too, or maybe a booth that they both stand in that is a silent booth, and that they can hear the other person speak, but they can't be heard talking. So they could be like ranting and raving. Rah!
That might be what happens next time. They're talking about doing almost exactly that, like mic mutes. You're gonna have 2 minutes to talk, and the mic gets muted.
Well,
But
that's
what they don't understand about that is Trump's so loud and bombastic. He'll just walk over there to behind Trump and go, "Wrong."
wrong. It just makes Biden look so weak.
He just looks like
It makes him Biden look so weak. And see, some of these people who are, more reserved individuals in our country are thinking, how dare Trump act like that? But when you come down to it, there are some folks in this country who prefer that way to talk. You ever been in an argument or seen an argument between two big black women? It's like Donald Trump talking over Biden. They prefer that. And they look at Biden and they say, that's a weak-ass motherfucker.
They said like all the polls and stuff like that, a bunch of like the Latino community was 66% believe that Trump won the debate. And a lot of people said that Biden won that debate. I don't know how you would say, a lot of the polls from mainstream media, you're right. It was all mainstream media debate. You're right.
I saw lots of polls where people thought that Trump won, and we did. And I think he steamrolled it. He made him look stupid.
And
I really did.
And it's true, he had to debate both the candidate, Joe Biden, running for Senate or whatever he's running for, you don't even know, and this Wallace cat. Isn't his name Wallace? Chris Wallace? Isn't that right? Mike Wallace, whatever. Screw that guy.
Yeah, he's
Chris Wallace. Is Chris Wallace right? I was right.
You were right. You were right. See, I can admit when I'm wrong.
Me too, Jeff. Me too.
But these people are so snaky and nasty and creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like he's wrestling two snake monsters from the swamp, and
he's not the superhero himself, Jeff. That's the sad part.
No, he's not. He's not. But
all too. It's just the bleak. I mean, I get tired of defending Trump, man. He is basically the spearhead of a great movement that's happening in this country, and in a way. Like I said, I wish we had somebody in there that was just a little bit, I don't know, man. Just a little bit better at what he does. A little more charisma that could, I mean, he's got a lot of charisma. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
The tough thing is it's like, it's an enigma. People don't realize how big of a trouble our country's in. So in a strange way, he might be the only man for the job.
You might be right.
He might be the only guy to come in there. And in my opinion, there's certain things that he hasn't done that aren't strong enough to me. And I mean, there's certain things that, like President Lincoln did. There's certain things that, they hailed Lincoln for doing all kinds of great stuff.
I don't want that.
I don't want it either, but
I don't want this authoritarian like Lincoln was.
These people? I don't like that either, but can we? It's hard to say. Can we fight?
You got to realize, Jeff, what you see on the press is like not what most people are doing, Jeff. Most people are either working or they're doing something.
Yeah.
I mean, like even in Seattle, where all this shit's going on, you're looking at like a very small portion, 1,000 people in Seattle in a town of a million.
Yeah. And
You know
those
what I
people
mean?
leaving
All
now.
those other people are either yay Black Lives Matter, but they're going to work. They're doing their thing. They're doing whatever. They're not going out there and protesting and crap.
No,
You
there's
might have
not.
10,000. Say you got 100,000 people out of a town of 1 million.
Still not that many.
So the press is reporting on a specific little window here, man. Most people are just doing their thing, man. And so you can't get too caught up in all that.
Well, I'm not talking about those people necessarily. I'm talking about more the government, like the glue that holds together these government departments. I mean, he needs to bring more attention to the individuals in the middle, the middlemen, in between the senators, in between the state representatives, in between the executive and the
He's kind of
legislative.
doing that under the table, though. If you really look at it, there's a lot of these that really don't make the press, but you hear about it. There's a lot of those lifetime people that were in government their whole life that aren't there anymore. I mean, he's also appointed a lot of judges in the other circuits and things like that. You know, that's what he brought up in that jury, and all those people that were under those judges and all those subordinates and all those, that's all getting cleared out. I mean, there is I think so. I've seen a lot of evidence of it, you know, and I mean, I guess it's going to help, but it's a drop.
Well, I mean, there's these groups that are like they're like superhero groups. They're not elected. They're ABC organizations like the CIA, FBI, EPA, FDA, CDCs,
Yeah.
and these groups are so rotten, man.
Well, it's just there's just so much of a waste of money happening at that level that
very frustrating.
That's where you have the $45 hammer and the $700 toilet seat and stuff like that, where there's just this
CDC
huge
with 50 patents on vaccines and they're so all of their members of the CDC are former American Pfizer people. How is it's corporate?
How is this not a freaking conflict of interest? You know?
Yeah,
And
that's
there's
one
so
of the
many
things
different
that they
little
didn't talk
loopholes
about
there.
in the debates. They didn't talk about any of that. They don't address certain issues that are real important. Like, okay, the FBI, you know, why can't we get any headway in any investigations, or the CIA? I mean, these hearings, these Senate hearings are such just dog and pony shows. People watch them and they say, ask real questions, say something real. They're all
Right.
just covering for each other. That's where my frustration lies in, is you have so many people covering for each other.
Yeah, there's a huge system of wag the dog, scratch my back, and I'll scratch yours. It's been going on since probably before America existed. And it is what it is, man. It's just the political game that people play where they don't have to work. It goes back to they don't want to work. They want to be able to not provide much of a service and act like they're some kind of leader of this country when, in effect, we're the leaders of this country. And we just need to take it back.
Well, you know, that's a good point. You know, they created our government all those years ago, and there was a town hall part of it before, you know, the Constitution and everything. There was a town hall part of it, but the reason they structured certain things is because, you know, on a larger scale, it's the easier way to get things done. But now that they have the internet, people have more of a voice. So at what point are we going to add in that and say, okay, now that we have access to a public forum and people from all these different states can interact more easily, what point are people going to say, okay, we can come together on this a little bit more effectively?
Yeah, and I think you're right, but people don't use this because these social media platforms aren't designed for that. These social media platforms are designed for the exact opposite of that. They're designed for basically to create conflict among people. They're designed to, give those people that adrenaline rush when they see something they dislike, and they can lay into somebody like they're changing the world or something like that.
Yeah,
Once again, this is another thing that I was a victim of. I don't make much comments anymore on Facebook or anything like that because I realize that it's pretty pointless and it's really not doing.
You're not convincing anybody at this
not
point.
convincing anybody. So I rarely even post on Facebook at all anymore.
It's driven a huge amount of their people away. It really has.
Yeah, I'll say happy birthday to some people, and I'll like a few pictures of people that I like that are friends. But I rarely, if you put something political up, I don't even
'Cause people are just vicious.
Yeah.
There's
I don't
no,
even
there's,
mess with it.
you know, there's no real conversation that's going to go on. It's just
Yeah.
this hammer,
And
hammer
that's
you
what we
down.
saw. That's a good point, Lacey. The art of debate is lost. And that was what we see in social media because everything is 140 words or less. And that's also what we're seeing last night in this debate. I mean, it was just like if you had two people fighting on Facebook.
Yeah, civil discourse is dead.
Yep. Well, all right.
is
Well,
sad.
our civil discourse is about dead for the night. Make sure you check us
Yeah.
out at Weiler Brothers on YouTube. Check out Texas Outlaw CBD. Check out Encapsule CBD. DaltonDesignsOnline.com. Some of our sponsors there. And make sure that some of the best CBD products on the planet, some of the finest jewelry you're going to be able to find anywhere. Handcrafted, beautiful stuff. And yeah, check out all those websites. Check us out on Twitter, Patreon, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Par-
Yeah,
Is it Parlor? I like saying Parlor.
Parlor. Yeah, I started calling it Parlor because even the creator calls it Parlor. So I was like, all right, it's cool to say Parlor, not Parlay.
Yes, the most important thing you can do is like, share, and subscribe this. You know, and like I said, we're just doing the best we can. We're doing what we can with the information we have. I'm not saying any of this is true. This is our opinion. This is an opinion show. I had a guy come in and confront us the other day and say a bunch of blah, blah crap about how we were detrimental to and dangerous with what we were saying. And I was like, dangerous? Make up your own mind. There's nothing that you can say, I can say that's dangerous to you. Other than you should just make up your own mind about something. If you think that what I'm saying is wrong, look it up. Prove me wrong. Put it in the comments. Show me that I'm dumb. I don't mind. Like I said, I'm not married to any of my ideas. If you can prove me to be wrong, I will be the first to admit it.
It's just another example of this hypocritical crap. You know, they say silence is violence. Well, if you say something that's dangerous too, so what the heck, man?
Yeah, just don't do anything, but do something.
Yeah, just sit there like them guys. Just sit there.
I cannot tell a lie.
Mm-hmm.
I
I'm perfect.
ate at Burger King, but I can't remember if I had French fries or not.
No free
Not
fries.
today.
That's right.
Maybe tomorrow. Ask me again tomorrow. Anyway, whatever. All right, man. Have a good night.
All right, dude.
Thank you guys for tuning in.